Hi, everyone. Happy Wednesday. I am Violet Ayala, the founder and CEO of FEMCITY. And today we are talking about the big pivot, reinventing yourself, the bold pivot. And the reason why we're having this conversation is because there are so many women in our community that are really going through this feeling that they've outgrown the space that they were in, or maybe they feel a calling or a pull to someplace else. We actually covered this yesterday in my group coaching session. We literally covered this pivot because so many of us are going through that. So, and I feel I am going through it a little bit as well. So I've asked three from our FEMCITY Founders Program. There are three of our featured experts. I know all three of these women very well. And I've actually seen two of them in real life and hugged them. Denise, I will hug you soon, I'm sure.
November.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. In November for our conference. I get a chance to hug you. And if you're watching us live, feel free to ask questions. We are here collaboratively, collectively to give you all the resources and tools that we have experienced so that it makes your life less rocky and you make less mistakes. So again, the topic is the bold pivot, reinventing yourself again. And so before we start, let's just share a little bit about who we are. Let's go to Denise to share like one or two sentences about who you are.
Sure. I'm Denise Stegall. I am the menopause mentor. I work with obviously midlife women who are at a place where things are going wonky. Their health is kind of not where they want it to be. They're gaining weight and just really frustrated. So I help them to figure out what's going on hormonally, physically, mentally, and emotionally, so they can live their next phase in life with clarity, joy, fun, energy.
Awesome. Let's go to Melissa.
I am Melissa Tossell. I'm creative leader and CEO at Interior Design. I'm an interior designer who wants to change your life, starting with your home and going into the rest of your life with a beautiful network around me to do all kinds of fun stuff.
Beautiful. Thanks. And then Rebecca.
I am an essential oil expert, author, and speaker, and I help people take charge of their health. And I do that by teaching about the power of essential oils, mindset work, and just share my secrets for how to age well.
Awesome. All right, let's dive in. All right, so let's start with Denise. Denise, in the biggest last big pivot that you had, how did you know it was time to pivot? Because that's the number one question I think women are going through is like, how do you know it's time to like make the jump? What were some signs that you went through?
Right. And, for most of us, the pivot isn't planned. Mine wasn't planned, but it was very personal. So as a coach, I had already been working with women 45 to 65, so that midlife woman, because she's me. And we were working on so many great things to get life to that next level. What are they going to be doing from 55 to 85 or 95, right? That next phase. And in those conversations, I started to notice more and more that menopausal symptoms kept coming up. And the conversations really started to focus more on hormones and things that we were experiencing, or my clients were experiencing, that I had experienced myself starting at a very young age. So I understood what they were going through, but I also understood steps that they could take. Right. So it really kind of transitioned somewhat easily just based on the conversations that I was having with my clients and my friends and people in networking groups, that I thought, okay, women need support here. I have the knowledge and expertise. Why am I not focusing on helping them? So it really was about being impactful in a way that I had never dreamed that I would be.
I love that. And what I love is what you're saying is really is that you listened with your heart being open. Like it kind of came to you because you were just listening to what was coming to you, what people expected to hear from you. And then you realize that there was a connection with listening to your people. And I always say your community will tell you, they will tell you which way to go. Whether it's your community or your friends saying, hey, Denise, you know what? You always know about menopause stuff. Like, what do you think about this supplement? Or what do you think about, 30 grams of protein or whatever? So I love that really your tip, your wisdom is listen to the conversations you're having now and see if it pulls you in the direction, if it makes sense, if it feels aligned to where you can envision yourself to be. So I think that's a big piece, because I think a lot of people do not listen, and they're really like, I'm not going to listen. Like, why are you bringing that to me? I'm a business coach. Like, why are you asking me about menopause? I love that you listened and you allowed your mind, your soul, your spirit to open into ways that you could serve. So I love it. So, okay, so listen, number one, that's a really great tip. Let's go to Melissa. What was your big, like, not red flag, I want to say green flag?
No, red flag is a good one. We had a lovely, we're all Founder Circle members, and we had a lovely coffee chat. And this came up in the coffee chat. So we're talking how communication is one of those transitional pieces that when you pivot or when you transition, communication is one of the things, communicating who you are, feeling like you're saying everything you need to be saying and how you need to say it. So for me, I didn't love what I was doing anymore. I felt so distant from it. I didn't know, honestly, I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I wanted. I didn't know how to want things. And I questioned many times. I'm very good at what I do. I love what I do, but I questioned many times whether I should even do this anymore. And a lot of my pivot was having the bravery to take a life that was really fractured. So for me, my huge pivot was I wasn't myself. I was showing up as who I thought I had to, even after I had kind of the creative freedom to have like the red hair and to be colorful and the things you guys know me for. It was still like I would have my FEMCITY Melissa, and I would have my volunteering Melissa, and I would have my family Melissa, and I would have like all of these people I was trying to be, and understandably it wasn't working. And I ended up having to go within me and have the bravery to say, who am I without anyone else? And it was scary because there was nothing there at first, and I had to figure out who that was. And for me, it just happened, like rebranding my entire company. I've built a brand that was called Sonura Design for a number of years, and my pivot was so personal, it overtook my business. That my business name that I created from a pen name, from a fandom I was a part of as an artist and writer, I just picked it. I didn't have any idea what I wanted to call my business. I just picked one. And now finally I had an identity. I had who I wanted to be. And that was what cued me. Is I didn't love what I was doing anymore. Wow. I fought a lot of things, and I'm in such a much better space now. I'm not there. And I think we all agree we're not there. We're on a journey. We're getting there. That's the joy of it. But I even discovered a thing, because I'm so empathic and I'm such a team person. I have had to create without anyone in my business with me. I've had up to 3 employees at one point, and I loved it. And I had to get rid of my right-hand woman. I really didn't want to. I was forced to by the universe. And now I realize it's that I could create from my heart.
Yeah.
So
authenticity, you would say authenticity. Like
absolutely.
Yeah. It's like you've no longer felt authentic to who you were. And so you felt because I know sometimes we struggle, especially like some will say, well, after summer, I don't feel like who I am anymore. I'm like, yeah, because in summer mode, we're like on the beach, like lounging about. But you're talking more deep. You're talking about like all of those personas that you took on. Feel really more and more disconnected to who you were. And so that you no longer felt comfortable in pretending. And so that was you really just wanted to show up authentically on all platforms as who you are. So I think the word for you is authentic.
And I think that the courage to be someone I wanted to be and didn't give my self permission to be.
Yeah. And I want to put a little pin in that one, because that's a huge conversation for us to have also, is the judgment, the fear of judgment of when we do start over, and like the mindset it takes. So let's definitely come back to that. Rebecca.
Wow. I think a theme for me is I'm a late bloomer, and I'm very okay with that. And so I have basically been tricked into every pivot So, and I'm okay with that too. The universe.
Tricked or tripped?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And so this last pivot was, I was part of the, I chose to be a part of the Uncover Your Light Volume 2 series, one of 20 authors. And I passed on the first opportunity for Volume 1 because it just wasn't the right time, but I was very intrigued. And even though I'd never written nonfiction before. And so the second time it came around for Volume 2, it's like, okay, universe, you can't ask me to resist twice. So I jumped in, even though I was very leery that I truly fit in with that theme of hope and resilience. Hope, yes, but I have a whole different take on it. And she said, that's perfectly okay. But what that taught me in that 2,500 words, I have too many words. That it was so frustrating to limit my message, my big important message, to 2,500 words. And it was excruciating.
Yeah.
And so I thought,
I also want you to mention like that you are a writer. Like when you mentioned your first time writing as a nonfiction, tell those that are watching your writing experience, because you have an incredible writing experience prior to that. So just I want people to realize like what it means, because you were here and now here. So what kind of writer were you before?
I was a traditional romance writer for Harlequin Silhouette. I had sold 2 books a lifetime ago. And again, was tricked into that.
Yeah.
But found my calling. And then for whatever reason, could not sell more. And so I pretty much just let the writing go for a while. And growing up, never thought I'd be a writer. Never was the plan. So to now be an author of a soon-to-be 4th book is mind-blowing to me.
Yeah.
But it was really the frustration of I have too much to say. I need my own book. So I just jumped in at,
so call
in my 60s. And
I love that. I love that you added the age to that too. So you felt, so what I'm gathering from you, and I'm recapping it just so that we add more exclamation points to what you shared, is that you felt a calling in another direction, and it pulled you so hard that you were like, that's what I'm feeling from you. And the reason why I didn't mean to put you on the spot there, Rebecca, but I just know, I know that about you, and I love all of what you've done in your life. I'm so in awe over it. But I know some people may not have known that you were this romance writer, and a successful one as well. Made money. You didn't just write, you made money with it. So I love that. So let's talk a little bit. We had put a little pin in it with Melissa's share. And I wanted to talk about that a little bit, because I think sometimes we say, okay, I have the calling, right? I feel like this is where my people are telling me to go, going back to Denise. Melissa, the authenticity part. So all of those are really valid, key green flags, red flags, alerts, notifications, whatever. How do you manage the fear of judgment? And we had this question yesterday in the group coaching session also. It was like, how do you even begin? I think for you, Denise, it was a little bit smoother, perhaps, because your people were telling you. I'm sure you have advice to give any which way, because it's still scary to kind of venture out into a new arena, a new area. But how do you handle the fear of judgment when you are starting something new or something different? Because I feel like so many women get stuck in that, and they say, well, I feel this calling, but I can't do that. I feel this, I want to be more authentic, but I couldn't possibly do that. I feel like I could change into this mode, but I can't possibly. So what's something that you did, or what's some advice that you can share for those that are really having a hard time navigating the fearful side of making that pivot? And I'll tack on if you have advice for people that are feeling stuck in that spot too. So let's go to Denise. We'll do the round. Denise, Melissa, and Rebecca.
So yeah, fear is real. I mean, this was very real when I was stepping into this new space, because one, I knew it was going to make some people uncomfortable. It's very personal. My biggest fear, to be quite honest, was the fact that people wouldn't take me seriously because I'm not a doctor. You go, if you have menopausal symptoms, you go to a doctor, right? Not that they can answer all your questions. I can. But that was a big, big fear of mine. And then, of course, losing credibility. I've been, the healthy living, happy life coach for 15 years.
Right.
Eat real food, make good decisions, be accountable. That's what I always talk about. And then to transition that to menopause, what I really had to remind myself was, again, as I mentioned earlier, this is what people were asking me for. And what I had done in the past still applied.
Right.
So for me, I had to keep looking at my experience and my knowledge and who I was and who I've helped in the past, and realized that they still need my help. They still need my support. They just needed it at a different level. So on those times when I was really feeling insecure and my confidence was low, I was really fortunate to have a BFF who I can turn to and just tell her my fears. And she knows me so well. So having that support person, my husband was also great, but he's a man. So having my best friend, Suzanne, who knows me so well and knows my business and where I was going, she was able to kind of squash my fear as they were coming up.
Yeah.
So having that support person is really, really important.
It reminds me, so 16 years ago, one of my closest friends, Nikki Nova, who's going to be speaking at our November conference, she is a professional writer. She used to write for all the top fashion magazines, and we had met for coffee, and she was helping me with my bio. And she put me down. I share this story all the time. She put me down as a small business expert or a small business coach. And I was like, Nikki, I am not that. You cannot put that down. That is not who I am. I don't have a business degree. I don't have an MBA.
Yeah.
And she stopped and she looked at me. I mean, I remember it to the day. We were at Green Shields in Coconut Grove on Main Highway, sitting outside, actually Cafe Lulu's. And she said, Violet, how many businesses have you had? And I was like, and she's like, and have they been successful? I'm like, yes. And then she's like, if you're not a small business expert, like who is?
Mm-hmm.
And just wrapped it up. And so I love that you share that. Sometimes the encouragement comes from someone who whispers it to you or looks you like in the eyes, like Nikki did.
Shakes you.
And just, I'm like, oh my gosh, I guess you're right. It's like you need to have someone on the outside sometimes tell you, be like, well, that was silly for me to go down that route. You know what I mean? But I love that you shared that. And kudos to your hubby also for being part of your cheerleading team. Let's go to Melissa. So what was kind of a question that's a little bit like it's got two sides, because I want to make sure that we address. So how did you handle the fear of judgment, if that was something? And or what advice would you give to someone who's feeling really stuck and who's like, I don't know if I want to, I don't know if I have the thing that it takes to get to that next side?
You got to face your demons. So you got whatever your healing looks like. And if you're here on FEMCITY, we have so many amazing resources for that. I mean, even just the content Violet puts out on her own as FEMCITY every month. And whenever we have worksheets available, please do them. They're amazing. They're always amazing. They're always perfect. But heal it. If you have a paralyzing fear of what other people think of you, heal it. You deserve to be free of that. Now, I want to tell you from the other side, because I know you're a loving, empathic person. Almost no one here is going to be a psychopath. We're good. We have a lot of loving people. When I heard people say that they healed that, I always felt like it was going to be like, I don't care about people anymore. And what happened to me, it allowed me to love people more. It allowed me to come from a loving space and an empathic space where I understand that someone's going, like, I know Violet talks about this all the time. She completely understands this point of view. You're going through your shit. If you're being horrible to me, I send love to you and I feel bad for you because I know you're going through something that you can't avoid being this way with me. And honestly, from someone who didn't realize they were putting up with abuse in their life from many people, you're going to keep attracting that until you take care of it. So that kind of applies to both of these, that if you're stuck and paralyzed, you need to take an honest look and heal it. Now we got all kinds of, we got like Yvette does Reiki. We have people who do energy healing. We have people who have, you know, Rebecca has her amazing essential oils, and several other femmes do. Like, choose your poison, so to speak, and you can find a method to help you. But if you're really stuck, give yourself the compassion and the love and the grace and mercy to take care of that, and not feel like you have to push through everything and just grit your teeth and bear it. That isn't the way to move forward.
I love
Because
that.
you don't want to make a decision based on that. You want to make a decision free of that.
Yeah. And I feel,
yeah.
And I love all that, Melissa. And I feel also sometimes when we do pivot and we step into our authentic self, things flourish and grow beyond our vision, because we are stepping into what our calling is. And then it just goes. So sometimes we lose those people. Sometimes those people will unsubscribe. Yeah. Sometimes they'll unfollow. And one of my favorite sayings is, what Sally says about Susan says more about Sally than Susan. So at the end of the day, if someone is on there giving you hate eyes, evil eye, commenting, snickering, whatever, that's their journey. That's their story. And there's nothing you can do, because they're doing it with many facets of their life. So it's really important to stay centered in who you are, and you'll be happier.
Yeah. And I wanted to add, honestly, none of that ever happened.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
I have beautiful people in my life. When you come forward with your mission and you're doing a beautiful thing, no one comes forward to say, God, you're such an awful person. Why would you do this? And it's really funny because I had my rebrand. I think a few of you saw my rebrand go up, and it's so different than what I was showing up as before. And it's so soft.
Yeah.
In a very harsh world I live in of construction and men and all of those things. I was like, and I had absolutely nothing to be afraid of. Everyone just took it in stride because I'm just being me. And it's not like no one saw that before.
Yeah. And I also feel like you're so busy being happy, and you're so happy and being in your like new space, that even if someone says something, you don't even notice it. Honestly, because it's not your focus. You don't even notice it. So, Rebecca, same questions for you.
I think it's interesting. My 38-year-old daughter asked me one time, how did I get so fearless? And
I love that.
I said, I am not, I exhaust her.
Fair.
But I love it. But I said, I'm not afraid of failing. I'm afraid of running out of time. So maybe age, at 67, maybe that gives me a little different perspective, but I've actually approached everything pretty much that way. I've never taken time for granted because of the poor health in my family, seeing loved ones die too young and suffer so long before they died. And I have a lot of those same genes. So my whole goal has been to beat my genes, and I'm winning the battle so far. And so that's where I come from when I face a challenge. But the other thing is, I think I had a monkey on my back a long time about not going to college. And so anything I didn't think I could do, it was, oh, well, I didn't go to college. And my husband reassured me there's a lot of people with a college degree that are not smart. And B, someone told, and to write a book about wellness, I'm not a college graduate. I'm not a doctor of any kind in the medical field. Who am I to do this? And someone told me, who was in their 30s, they said, we don't trust people who are experts anymore. We want someone who's lived it and been in the trenches, and they're real. So yes, I'll buy your book. And so that's a little bit like, what Denise was saying as well. So it was, getting published after 10 years of trying the first time took that sort of off my back of, I'm not smart because I didn't go to college, but to take on a big book, a nonfiction book on wellness, when I really have no official background, I did sort of, hesitate a little bit, but yet that calling, that this is personal to me. I could not help my family. So anything I can do to help someone else age well,
Yeah.
and be healthy now and later, despite their genes,
Yeah.
I have to do this.
Yeah.
So
I wrote down, what saying comes to mind is you think you have time. And I love that, because if you're on the fence about pivoting, sometimes we think the luxury of time is like, oh, we can do it tomorrow. But so you think you'll have time, meaning like do the things today. And I also, I love giving homework. I don't think I've given homework ever in a panel, but every time I coach someone, I always give them homework on things, what to work on. But if you are
You're
listening,
good at homework, Violet.
I'm giving you homework. Yeah, I'm giving you homework. So if you're watching this and you are looking to pivot, I think going back to what all of us have shared, but thinking about specifically what Rebecca was saying is that monkey on your back. I think we all have that narrative that's holding us back. And so I ask you to ask yourself, what is that story that you have on your back, in your brain, that's holding you from moving forward? Because we've already addressed the fear of judgment. We've already addressed the signs that you would get. Bless you, Melissa. And so really the next step is, what is that that's holding you back? And then rewriting it, like Rebecca just said, using the facts, pulling all your receipts together so that you feel confident in moving forward and pivoting. So we're going to wrap up. We only got through 2 or 3 questions, and I knew I had like 8 questions or 6 questions. I knew it was going to be a great conversation. Final advice, Denise, and then ways that femmes can find you to stay connected.
Final advice. I think when we're stuck, we actually know the answer that we're searching for. It's about getting quiet, listening to yourself, getting away from the noise, whether the noise is social media or the computer or your family, and just taking the time to reflect what your feelings are, what your thoughts are, what your desires are. And then to figure out like what brings that energy. I mean, I think that's the biggest piece, is if there's a lot of excited energy around something, there's your answer.
Yeah.
And you may not know what the steps are, and that's okay. But getting quiet and listening to yourself and finding what brings you or gives you that energy, that's going to help you take that first step. And I think that's the most important, is we can think about things and write things down all the time, but deciding what that is by feeling it and then taking that very first step.
I love that. How can femmes find you?
Femmes can find me on my website, denisestegall.com, or anywhere on social media. I am Healthy Living with Denise.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right, Melissa, final advice and how femmes can find you.
You can do this. I know you can do this. That's the Too Long Didn't Read. I essentially have a college degree. I have a college diploma. I'm very qualified in what I do. I've spent years educating myself, and I have many times thought that I can't do this. Mm-hmm. So just know, if you take away nothing else from this, when you're thinking about pivoting, remember everyone has a monkey, or as I say, they have a monster. Yeah. They got a little monster somewhere that tells them all these awful things. And I think if you look at yourself with compassion and you look for that monster, as Violet's saying, like, what is your story that you're telling yourself? And then what's the other side? As someone who doing what they call in spiritual shadow work and the healing, super easy for me. Super easy to dig into the hard stuff and to heal and to find all the wounds. My hard part was wanting and dreaming, and all the lovely parts you're supposed to be really come easily. So do the other part too. Sit down. Passion Planner is one of my favorites for set a 60-second timer, take away absolutely every barrier, time, money, everything, and write down what you want. Mm-hmm. And don't filter yourself in the least. And then after that, you can have a look at that and go, wow, okay. I wanted more things than I thought I did. So do both sides. That's what I want to say as a takeaway. When you're having this exercise, should I pivot? Do both sides. Do what's holding me back, but also what do I want? What's lovely? What sets my heart on fire?
I love that.
And you can find me on all of the FEMCITY platforms. You could find me in the directory is one of the easiest ways to find me. I have auroradesigninc.ca is my website. Aurora Design Inc. on social media, on Instagram. Thank you for attending, everybody.
Awesome.
This was a great discussion. Thank you for inviting us, Violet.
Yeah, thank you. And Robin, who's also in our founders program, says she's watching from LinkedIn. Great advice, everyone. Wonderful panel. Thank you. Thank you, Robin. We love you. Rebecca, final advice and how FEMS can connect with you.
I love what Denise and Melissa said. Absolutely. All those things and everything Violet has mentioned as well. I guess I would say you really have to know yourself. You have to take the time to really have self-awareness. And so often we don't take that time. We're wearing the labels that we were given or that we chose. We're, like Melissa sort of talked about, we haven't taken the time to really understand who we are and what we need to be happy. And if you don't have that awareness, then you go where the wind goes. And I think that's what I was, that nerdy, preteen doing personal development. And you can laugh all you want, but it has served me well because I know who I am.
Yep.
And so that is so key. I have all sorts of books I could recommend if you want some homework, but Wired That Way is the main one that changed my life, that helped me realize there's nothing wrong with me. I'm just different from the family I grew up in and the town and so forth. And it's okay. So knowing yourself, because that self-awareness will hopefully lead to self-love. And self-acceptance, because you got to accept yourself. And then that will lead to self-love. And once you have those things there and you have you good, then you can look outward for that purpose, that calling. But if you don't know who you are, how is that going to happen? Yeah. So I feel very strongly about that. You have to, yes, you're a nurturer, you're helping everyone else, but this is crucial, especially if you're stuck. And then you can find me all across social media at the Rebecca Russell, and my website is RebeccaRussell.com.
Awesome. Thank you. You know what? I was giggling, Rebecca, because I was 18 years old, 19 years old when I bought my first self-help book. It was A Woman's Worth by Marianne Williamson and A Return to Love, about those two books. And it changed my life. Like, it really, I was young. I was like, like you. I was just like, what an old soul in the bookstore.
Yes.
Just like
studying psychology today.
I'm just like, wow. Well, thank you all for joining me today. This was so enriching and it's super yummy. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your really busy day. I know all three of you are extremely busy, so I'm really grateful. And for those that are watching, we had some love coming from Suki. Suki is also our FEMCITY Baltimore president. She just got back from Bali, and I believe she has an event this week. So we're giving a shout out to FEMCITY Baltimore. And for those that want to stay connected, you can follow us over on Instagram, FEMCITY, or you can follow me personally, Violet de Ayala, over on Instagram too. So we love you all, and you can do this. And if you need anything from us, we're here to support and cheer you on. Until next time, bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.